Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bobbi. I'm your co-host, Christina Bloom, and this is my co-host, Bobby Clubino. And we decided to talk about just kind of self-care stuff today. I think
Yeah.
that's what we've been talking about for the last week. So, probably a good time to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, it's the self-care, it's the emotional balance of how your life is structured kind of thing. And I've been having some back issues and it has turned into a long case of sciatica, and I've tried a number of things. And the old adage, if you look hard enough, you're going to find something.
Hmm.
Not only something wrong with you, but something right with you. And in addition to that, for me, I always find that when things get out of hand and I look for some sort of resolution or cure or whatever you want to say about some health malady I have, it seems to turn up that there's a number of things that show up for me. This latest one was about the healing code, and then there's a 21-day transformation thing out there, and it just seems like these things sort of come up. So there's always something, it seems, to help you look for a resolution.
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but there's always someone out there telling you, well, you need to meditate more, or you need to, call in your angels, and or you need to try this thing or that thing. And then there's just none of them help. And so I think, at least for me, I think sometimes I get stuck in my head,
Hmm.
and I start looking for all of these things, and a mess of things show up, and you may or may not find what you're looking for. But through this whole course of my sciatica, and I know that you invited me to go to New York with you, and I was so disappointed that I just felt I couldn't ride in the car that long. And, yesterday I was laying face up in the bed looking at the fan because I could barely move with all the spasms in my back. So in the process of doing all of that, I found a new chiropractor who does a lot of different things, and a chiropractor that has a couple of massage therapists, different massage therapists in his office. And while his office was closed, I'm having a crisis. And so I called the massage therapist that I knew, and I met him once before. And interestingly enough, he was reading me as I'm walking up the steps. I never told him anything at that point. He
Hmm.
knew that I had back issues, and he was telling me as he's walking next to me on the steps, oh, it's on your right side. And I'm thinking, wow, this is really something. And we get into where he's going to do this procedure, and he says to me, well, I just want you to know, I am not the type of massage therapist that you take your clothes off and I rub you with oil. And I'm thinking, well, this is going to be interesting. I wonder where are we going with this? And so he gives me some exercises in which some of them, obviously, I couldn't sit still long enough to perform them, but the
Hmm.
other ones seem to be very simple. And then he says to me, that martial arts stuff that you were doing, he said, you probably shouldn't be doing that anymore. I think, as you get older, you just can't handle it, which is why I had to quit.
Hmm.
But I was just really enamored with the fact that he knew stuff that I never really even told him.
Hmm.
And um, and quite honestly, I was there for an hour and a half, and I'm not even sure what he did. I can't tell you that it wasn't a deep tissue massage. It wasn't that he went into every muscle. It wasn't, and he said to me at one point, he said, I suppose you're wondering why you're very relaxed and I'm not doing much to you. And I'm thinking, yeah, I am. I'm almost sleeping here on the table and I haven't a clue what you're doing.
Hmm.
So um, he did go into a couple of my muscles. He did relax a few, that I could tell what, put a name to it kind of thing. In addition to that, I went home and I slept for 2.5 hours. I
Awesome.
was like giddy when I got out of the place that, we were doing the massage at. And I'm thinking, I don't know what happened. And it was very comfortable. He was very good at what he was doing. A foreign gentleman came from Russia. He had a very Russian accent. And I said to him, so where did you learn this? And he was telling me about his formal education in Russia and that he had been here for about 27 years. And he's got an elderly mom, and he goes to his mom's place every day and does, work on her kind of thing where he does his little massage thing.
Hmm.
But as far as his technique, it was just very interesting, and I felt completely different when I left.
That's awesome. It almost sounds a little bit like physical therapy, like
Okay.
aspects of physical therapy, with the exercises that he gave you and the subtle adjustment or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, he had me moving my knees in a certain way, and some of it was, let your body weight make you stretch over here like this rather than pushing kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
exactly right. I was so enamored, but when I got out of there, and the fact that I rarely, I may take a nap, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but 2.5 hours, that's like almost a whole night rest for me.
I
It's like,
know, right?
geez.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's funny because when I was on that trip in New York, I was like, man, my sciatica is acting up. Oh, time to disconnect from Bobby because I was connected to your energy and feeling your pain. And I literally had to like go, I love you, but gotta let you go right now because I am not doing this whole trip driving with sciatica.
oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
That's,
yeah,
yeah,
it
the
was.
things, the emotional attachments that we carry around is really where I was going with all of
Hmm.
this, that, looking up the list of maladies of what they all associate with, and
Hmm.
apparently sciatica and stuff is associated with making decisions.
Hmm.
And what decisions are you stuck on? And I just think it's so interesting, the things that we carry with us, because we don't even know that we're doing it.
Right.
And when you release some of that, and I think I know what the decision was, or whatever identifies. And so the other thing is, I found things around my house. I have some CBD cream, which helped. I
Hmm.
was really uncomfortable last night. I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get out of bed to go to the bathroom, and I had I had a handheld massager in my closet that I had forgotten, which made a huge difference in subsiding all the back spasms. Today, I'm upright, which I look completely different than I did yesterday. I could barely walk. It was really a wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. I think the stuff that you carry around can be there forever. And if you are not in tune with that, I think it can really wreak havoc with your emotional health and your physical health.
Oh, I
It's
agree. I mean, everything is connected, right? So it's not like our emotions are separate from our bodies. We feel our emotions in our bodies. It's not
right.
separate. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying though. And then, you know, energetic connection and emotional attachment, I guess, could be interchangeable. Um, but for me, it's sometimes it's like it's emotional. I was feeling sad for you because I knew that you wanted to go and I
Yeah.
knew that you weren't able to and that you were stuck. And I also know that you're very active and being stuck is probably the worst thing in the world for you because emotionally and mentally, because it's hard for you to not have control of you. And when
Yeah.
you're in that kind of pain,
Yeah.
and I think that would probably go for pretty much everybody. I mean, who who doesn't want to be in control of their own body, right?
Right.
So, um, but I just know emotionally that that's a difficult thing for you, and mentally that's a difficult thing for you to not be able to do what you want to do. And um, so I was sending you energy, but energy flows both ways.
Right. Yeah, you got to be careful what you're picking up.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
a couple of people, and then I went back to the chiropractor yesterday, and it seemed a little bit better. But in addition to that, it didn't, I could barely walk when I went in there. And I was better when I left, but then, I went and walked around for 15 minutes, and he told me to do that. And he said,
mhm.
come back if you don't feel any better. And so it was still, I got in the car and I was going to come home, and it started to act up again. And I thought, oh, you're here, just go in and get another one. And I think whatever we did probably reversed it to where I was when I came in, hobbling.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the fact that I have been so active over my life, and like you said, to be in control of your stuff, what I find happens is when it drags on for a while, I have a tendency of thinking, when am I going to die?
Mm-hmm.
How long am I going to live here? Do I have to do this for the rest of my life like this? Oh my God, this is going to be horrible. I feel
Yeah.
sorry for those people. So
Mm-hmm.
all these things happen. But then I start to get better. And then, of course, I do stuff. Yesterday or the day before that, I was outside. The weather was very nice. I started raking some stuff in the garden, and that activity probably started tweaking me. And of course, the chiropractor asked what I did, and I told him, and I said, well, I was outside, but and I was smart enough not to pick up this giant rock and throw it. I mean, I rolled it over with my foot.
Yeah.
All of these little dopey things emotionally, you try really hard to get better. And then for me, I've had, this has been a learning lesson of just leave it the way it is and, try to slow down a little bit. And I really don't like to slow down. So I
I
learned
know.
a lesson. This
We're a
is,
lot alike in that way. Neither one of us likes to slow down.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why I can't do that anymore. And I think to make matters a little bit worse, I had, some nieces, three of my nieces over the weekend. We had a shower for my son and daughter-in-law. And I have a punching bag and some other stuff down in the basement that I used to work on. And of course, my nieces says, so what did you used to do at this? Show me. And I couldn't help it. I had to do a little wheel kick here and there. And they're like,
Mm.
wow, that's big. And I'm thinking, I wonder how that's going to affect me. 3 days later, I'm laying there looking up at the fan. So
Yeah.
that's how it affects you.
Well, I mean, even if we do make like the emotional mental connection to the physical, we still have to give the physical time to heal.
I know. I just don't.
The look on your face was like, screw you.
Well, it felt really good there for a while. I don't get
Yeah,
it.
and it does. It does. I get that. But I know, and I am like the world's worst patient. I really am. I am like the world's worst patient. I'm probably worse than doctors when it comes to being a patient because I refuse to accept that my body won't do what I want it to.
Yeah, right. What do you
You
mean I
know?
can't do that anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
Hogwash.
I'll go climb that mountain. I'll just take my inhaler with me. I'm good.
Right. So all I
You
need
know,
is a little inhaler.
that's it. That's all I need.
Okay, and an aspirin. All right.
All right. Yeah, maybe some Tylenol. We'll get
Yeah,
there,
I
Um,
can do this.
yeah, and that's me. And I have been having this it's been I think at least a month now where I still have this cough that comes
Yeah.
up and it just kind of takes my breath away. And that started with like a sinus infection and an upper respiratory thing that's been going around and I still have the cough and I think it's probably because I have asthma
Yeah.
that my lungs aren't healing quite as quickly as maybe some other people's are. But I'm just like, nope, I refuse to accept it. I've got my tea blend here, and it has rose hips, mullein, marshmallow, not the kind, not the little white fluffy things, the plant, and butterfly pea, PEA, which is also
Okay,
another
thank
plant,
you.
and honey. And I'm just like, no, I'm hitting it all at once.
Right.
I got a big event this weekend and I am not going to be sick for it, So it's, yeah, I'm going to be healthy for this big event that I've got coming up. So, yeah, it's really, I'm very much the same way you are. It's like, I'm not going to let my body stop me from doing what I want to do.
Right. You just grab all of the tools in the bag and dump
Hmm.
them on the floor and just start going
Yep.
through them.
Yep.
Okay.
That and the inhaler.
And I think that's part of the tools. And
Yes.
what did you say? Butterfly pea? I was wondering.
Butterfly pea. It's PE. It's a pretty blue flower, actually. I got it from my naturopath,
Oh,
and yeah, it makes the whole tea blue. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know if you guys can even see this, but yeah, it makes the tea blue.
oh, it looks like a really deep purpley blue kind of thing. Wow.
Yeah, but
And
I have the other things mixed in with it, so yeah.
so speaking of things you add, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned earlier in some podcasts or whatever that you drink cacao.
I do.
Now, along with I purchased some cacao as well because I really wasn't sure what it all did. And lo and behold, just yesterday, I got an email of some sort of cacao ceremony. And I'm thinking, what do you do with that? What, do you know that there's ceremonial stuff about cacao? Do you know
Well,
that?
I think that there's different ways that it's produced and different ways it's used. So it's just like coffee. I mean, I'm going to change that. Cacao is not exactly like coffee, but the comparison is like you can have a light roast, you can have a dark roast, you can have a
Yeah.
medium roast, you can have strong, you can have weak, you can have decaf, you can have regular, you know. So with the cacao, I think that the way that it's produced or dried or however makes a difference in how it's used. The way that I use it is like I mix it in with my coffee. When I brew my coffee, I brew a teaspoon of chopped up cacao beans. You know, so it's and I don't know, I didn't notice it, but my husband mentioned that I'm calmer when I use it.
Huh. Well, they were talking about cacao gives you a certain type of energy. They were also talking about creating a space for your cacao ceremonies and then adding rose hips to it and all kinds of, I'm just enamored. Here, I
I
thought
actually
this
know
was
people who do that.
with cacao or
Yeah,
other
who do
things.
the cacao ceremonies. Yeah, I know people who do that. I've never done one, but I
Is
know
it some
people who
sort of
do.
religious thing or,
And
I don't
it's
get it.
not religious, it's spiritual.
Okay, okay.
Done
Wow.
in I had never, like I said, I've never done it. My understanding is done in a particular way where it's brewed a particular way, processed a particular way. It can put you into a state where you can have like visions and stuff like that. So what I use doesn't do that. I mean, I get visions anyway, so it's not different for me, but it's not, I buy it at a tea store. Like, you know, it's just it's on the shelf with the tea. It's not something that's going to cause people who use it that way to have a spiritual experience, but done with someone who's trained in how to do a cacao ceremony and how to help you reach that. I think I don't know if I want to go as far as it's like a ayahuasca. How's that pronounced? Ayahuasca.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, ceremony. I don't
Is
think
it
it's
considered plant medicine? Is
it
it?
is considered plant
Oh,
medicine. Yes.
hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's not something that people should just go do by themselves. I mean, especially
okay,
not the first time.
this is not your average chocolate milk kind of mix into.
Right. Right.
So where do you get the good stuff?
I
Where do
have no
you,
idea.
well, darn it all.
I'm
Hmm,
sure if we looked it up, I mean, you got the email, look at it. It probably tells you where to get it.
hmm, okay.
Yeah.
I'm quite enamored with that. So another one of those self-care things.
Yeah. I'm
Mm.
curious about it, but the person I know who does it lives in Stillwater, Minnesota, and it's kind of a drive.
Oh, you got to go there in order to.
Oh yeah, it's an in-person ceremony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the person was saying that after a while they noticed a different type of energy
Hmm.
about themselves and that it was quite a big deal. I
It's
Wow.
subtle though.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's what I
subtle.
hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it keeps me, I don't know what it does exactly, like I couldn't explain it biologically. I just feel better if I add it to my coffee in the morning.
Hmm.
I just feel more, I don't know if calm is the right word, but it comes close.
Are you a little bit more energetic or just a different type of
It helps
energy?
with focus.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah. And I
Um,
do a lot of different things to help with focus because um, I've had a traumatic brain injury, which a lot of people don't even know about, but I have. And so I do a lot of different techniques that I combine together to help with focus, or I would get absolutely nothing done.
hmm.
It's different techniques. It's even medications. It's a combination of things that help. And you see me when I've not had it,
Yeah, right.
and and when I've not had my particular combination of tools together, life is a lot harder for me then. So I am all about taking care of myself and making sure that I have what I need to be able to get through life without driving myself and everyone around me crazy.
Well, I know I say periodically, if Bobby ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And
Hmm.
Interestingly enough, the massage therapist or physical therapist the other day told me that, intuitively he said, in some wording, he was telling me that I had ADD a little bit, and I said, so how do you get around that without medication? And he said, well, limit yourself to 3 projects a day rather than 15 that none of them you get done.
Hmm.
Oh, well, that sounds logical, reasonable.
I'm laughing because I'm looking at a to-do list in front of me. I'm like, oh, it's a short list today. There's only like 12 items on it.
Those are little projects.
Yeah, like get your damn taxes done.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah, don't even get me started. But this is a self-care thing too. I mean, if we're talking about self-care, let's put it on all levels. I decided after driving myself absolutely to the brink of tears, trying to figure this out. I started it a few weeks ago. I know, it's coming up on tax day. But I went over what I did a few weeks ago and I caught mistakes. How many mistakes did I not catch?
Hmm.
Because, and I hope that I have the word right. I should have looked it up, but I think it's called dyscalculia. But it is dyslexia with numbers. And a lot of us have it. And, we just walk around going, oh, I'm just not good at math. Well, I'm not good at math when I'm seeing numbers inside out and backwards or in the wrong order or not seeing all of the numbers in the sequence because those are all symptoms of that. And so for me to sit down and do a year's worth of business taxes, like it's terrifying because what if I make a mistake? What if I make a really big mistake? You know, we're talking
Well,
about the IRS.
right.
you know,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
some,
want, I mean, I don't own a lot of stuff. I'm kind of a minimalist, but I don't want all of it taken. You know? So
hopefully they won't audit you.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's really weird though, because, I think a lot of us just take for granted that, everybody can add and subtract numbers. And if you're not seeing the numbers correctly, how can you do that? I can literally take the same line of numbers, add it 3 times and get 3 different results because
Well,
I'm not seeing it correctly.
me too. I have had that happen as well. I just wonder. Hmm.
Yeah.
And there are days that I'm really, really good at it, but other days not so much.
And I think that might have something to do too with the way that our brain chemistry is working on any particular day.
Well, that's all really scary, you know,
It doesn't have to be
brain
scary.
chemistry.
I think that if we, have a basic understanding, we can deal with it. I don't think it has to be
Well,
scary.
that's the point. You need to
Hmm.
understand what's going on in your brain, and until you do, um,
Well, or at least understand that I don't understand, but some days are better than others.
right. And damn it all, how come it took me so long to figure all of that out?
I don't know. How come it took us so long to figure out anything? It's crazy.
I know. Well, were we resisting all of that while? Was I just in denial?
You know what I think this is my take on it, and I could be all wet and way off base, but my take on it is when we're in grade school, right? And other kids are testing us on how smart we are, they always bring up math. It's
Mm,
always what's this number plus this number. And
mhm.
and that's just a microcosm of that's kind of what our society is based on is your intelligence is based on logic and math.
Math and reading. Yep.
Yep. And it's crazy, but if you're not good at math, people think you're dumb. And so then we bring that into ourselves and we accept that we're dumb because we're not good at math
Yeah.
when our brain just isn't seeing the numbers correctly. Like I don't even know how to explain this to make it make sense. It makes no sense to me. But the numbers, the digits 0 through 9, I see them as colors, not necessarily numbers. All right, now take 5 numbers and make a dollar amount out of that. I don't know. It's purple and blue. What the hell do I know? It's like
Sure.
we
And
all
where's
have
the
to
decimal
work.
point? Does that turn out colored or green?
Sometimes I don't see the decimal point at all.
Well, that'll have an effect on the answer for sure.
Oh, yeah. It sure will.
Well,
Um, yeah, so I think that we all have our own little things to deal with. This is one of the things that we deal with, and I think a lot of people do because a lot of people say, I hate math. Why?
yeah.
Why do you hate math? Because it doesn't register in our brains the way it registers in some other people's brains. And I don't think that one is better or worse than the other. It's just different. We
Do you
just work
remember,
differently.
when you were in school, going home with your math book or whatever, and your parents going, "Oh, that's the new math." You know that there is a new kind of math now. None of it makes sense to me. How you add and subtract or multiply. It's really about the multiplication, but it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, why do we need to change it? It was good the way it was.
Actually, my brain, when it comes to math, what you're calling the new math is what I've always done in my brain to get through the old math.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that until like a first grade teacher explained it to me. And I'm like, oh, I've always done that.
Hmm.
That's the way I've made sense out of the old math.
So you've been brilliant. You've been a genius all this while, and
And who knew, right?
right. That's why we're on this show. We're just showing off now.
No, but it's just that's the way my brain works.
Okay.
And when you break it up into smaller numbers, like what they're teaching kids to do now, then I don't have to try to hold in my brain this line of numbers. I don't have to, you know what I mean? So my brain isn't missing seeing numbers.
Mhm.
Like I said, if you've got 5 digits in a row, I might not even see one of them. I might not see the decimal point. But when you break it up into smaller numbers like that, my brain can work through that easier. It
Mhm.
can comprehend it better. It's just the way that, everybody got scared about it because they threw it out there like, "Oh, it's the new math." It really isn't. It's really just breaking it down to smaller numbers.
Mm. Yeah, probably. The stuff that they're doing today seems to be a lot longer, and maybe that's because we've been taught to do it in a hypothetical. The other way is shorter because we know how.
Right.
Not that it's better or worse, it just is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so
So self-care, yeah.
yeah.
Self-care is understanding that you do it the way that you can do it that works for you. And it's not just math that we're talking about with that. We're talking about everything, you know?
Mental health is a big deal,
It
and
is a big deal.
if you don't feel well, you don't look well, you don't behave well, you get down on yourself, and then there's all kinds of a cascade of other things that happens. So,
Mhm.
hey, speaking of that, other
Yeah.
things that happen, um, I know you and I were chatting a tad about the eclipse the other
Mhm.
day. I purposely didn't buy glasses because I didn't think I've seen that, in my lifetime. And I didn't think it was a big deal. But after, they had this big hoopla on TV and they had all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, and I was standing outside looking at it because I thought I could maneuver something. Well, that whatever we mocked up wasn't it either. And
Mhm.
perhaps I was looking at it at the wrong time. But at any rate, I was kind of sad. I had fear of missing out at that point in time. It was like, I should have bought the glasses. But then I have, relatives that live up north. They're like, I bought the glasses and it was so cloudy I couldn't see it. So
Yeah, I know. My friends up north are like that too. They're like, "Oh, well, of course it's cloudy because there's this big astronomical event going on."
I know, but they get the northern lights. We don't get it much of that.
That's true. That's true. They do get the northern lights. Um, I was outside during the eclipse and I held my phone up to take pictures, and everybody's like, "Oh, you got to put a filter on your phone." I don't know. My camera's just fine. It didn't fry my camera. But mostly I was just meditating through it, through like the most
Yeah,
intense 4 minutes or whatever.
yeah,
You
me
know,
too. I
I
decided
was, yeah.
I couldn't see it. I might as well just absorb the rays and
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah. And just, I was just thinking like love, joy, peace, transformation, putting that out, just kind of out to the world in general
Mm,
during the eclipse. And,
yeah, hoping
did
everything.
it do any good? I have no idea, but it made me feel good. So I guess it did.
Right. because you're the only one that really matters. So none of
Well,
that.
I mean, if I'm putting out things that feel good, and at least I feel good, it helps the people
Yeah,
around me feel better, right?
right. It's the
So,
ripple effect.
yeah, yeah.
Why not? So back to the self-care thing
Mm-hmm.
and looking for ways to get better. Like I said, I've ran into the chiropractor and then the massage therapist, and how about some good Epsom salt bath to take the ache out of things, and a good
Yeah,
massage vibrating thing that jars everything loose. But lo and behold, that very simple thing that I've had laying around here forever is the thing that made the biggest difference. And
yeah.
you try to fish out everything you can. You dump all your tools out of the bag and try, oh, how about this? And hope to God something works. Anyway, what's your favorite way to do self-care?
Windshield therapy. Just get in
Ah,
my car and drive. Just me. I usually don't even turn on music. It's just me and the road.
oh, wow, that's big. I walk around the house a lot with no noise on either, pretty much of
Mhm.
the day. If I do, I use some sort of meditative type of music, and kind of softly around the house and go
Mhm.
about my thing. The other thing, this is going to come out kind of funny, but one of the things that I've recently really fallen in love with is popcorn. I
Okay.
It's a while ago, I started Weight Watchers, and I went to my son's house and I was watching their dog for the weekend, and they left their popcorn maker out. And I was kind of sick of the microwave popcorn, and I fell in love with this popcorn maker. And almost 3 or 4 times a week now, I make a big thing of popcorn because I can eat it, and it's
Right.
little to no calories or points or whatever you want to say. But that really makes me feel good. It's kind of like on the order of eating cacao that makes you feel better. And
Mhm.
I was really going to say chocolate cake, but let's just go with the cacao. Oh
We
gosh.
celebrated my son's birthday last night and um, came over with girlfriend and we had a seafood
Oh,
oh,
fun.
feast.
Oh,
A lot of food. It was awesome. But my husband also brought home cupcakes, chocolate cupcakes and red velvet cupcakes. Well, I sent the red velvet home because that's my kid's favorite one.
mhm.
But I'm just like, great. There's cupcakes down there and they're taunting me.
Calling your name.
they're,
Christina,
they're taunting me.
come talk to me. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, you want to taste. You know you do. But I know as much as I would enjoy it, that's not self-care. It doesn't make me feel good after I eat it.
Well, that's true.
Mhm.
Hmm. You mean those cupcakes I had at the shower and the little cheesecakes I made? The one I tried, or two I tried?
Yum.
It may have been three. I don't know.
It may have been 3.
They
Yeah.
were
But I mean, once in a while it's okay. It's okay to splurge, but yeah, I try to be careful with myself with that because I know if I don't feel good afterwards,
Yeah, it
was it
tastes
worth
good.
it?
It
Yeah.
tastes good for a couple of minutes, and I do realize too that in terms of self-care, when I'm really on my game, what makes me feel the best is green vegetables. If I eat green peas or green beans or spinach or a salad or whatever, and then
Hmm.
maybe have some fresh shrimp or some type of, I love chicken and I love fish, but those are the things that I eat the most of, and I'm a little bit sensitive to them, but just some things that give me energy rather than take it away
Hmm.
seems to be the green stuff. I also found some salad dressing, and I don't know if you'd really want to call it. Um, I found a store that carries balsamic vinegars and olive oils, and one of them is honey ginger. That's an oil, and the balsamic vinegar is some sort of lime flavor. And when you mix the two together, it's just a phenomenal thing. It's very fresh and stimulating. So
Nice.
when I do those kind of things, if I eat really well, then I have all this abundance of energy, and I just keep going and going. And we just got to keep that up and to be disciplined about that and taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, and sometimes self-discipline is self-care, but it doesn't always feel like self-care, right? It doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel pampering.
Right. When the chocolate cupcake is calling you, it doesn't, it feels like, oh, well, I can just do this because this is what I
Hmm.
want. And, it stimulates your brain chemicals for 10 minutes and then your stomach feels crappy after that
Hmm. Exactly.
and your sugar
Ex-
spikes.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think what your favorite self-care thing is eating well. Is that what you were getting at?
I do, I like being quiet. I like eating well. Of course, I like to exercise. And now that I've had to kind of tone it down, finding uh, what works the best, what I really love is walking outside in nature
Hmm.
and, the trees and listening to the birds. And now that it's getting warm, I did hear that the butterflies are going to start coming out. And I was outside a couple of days ago and I did see a couple of small ones. I think they were admirals, which look kind of similar to a monarch, but if you get up close, they're a little darker and all that kind of stuff. So they're out, and that's really what stimulates me. I like to listen to the birds chirping and talking.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that really I'm sort of enamored with is like where I am, there's all kinds of different wildlife, and the crows seem to be a little bit noisy at certain times more than others.
Hmm.
They tend to be loud and sort of gang up. And then if there's a predator around, they get really, really loud. And that's their alarm system to tell everybody else that something's out there. Um, the other day, we have a bunch of bunnies here. And I feel kind of bad for them periodically because, like I said a while ago, we have like a 3-foot electric fence around the garden,
Hmm.
and those poor bunnies sit over there and just look in the garden like, oh, I just really want to get in there. I want that lettuce. Um, the other day there was a bunny that came shooting to the back of the house and hugged the tree line and then made a beeline. And I thought, I wonder what was chasing it. I know that we have a coyote here,
Hmm.
but I didn't see any remnants of that. I didn't see him come out at all after that. But it's interesting to watch how the animals react to different things, and they really are the telltale sign. So I'm really much of a nature girl, and so if I can eat right and play right outside, I'm in really good shape.
Yeah, I love to be outside too. I love to. The thing is, I don't like direct sunlight. I'm not a fan of direct sunlight. It's too much time in the sun, and I feel sick. It's like
Oh,
it's too much.
yeah.
So as long as I keep my eyes shaded, it's pretty okay. Like I wear a baseball cap or whatever. But yeah, I love walking like on the waterfronts. I I'm gonna just say not a big fan of tropical beaches. It's too
Mhm.
hot. It's too
Oh,
sticky. It's too blech.
yeah.
But like along the shores of the Great Lakes or the northern parts of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans or whatever, and also the being in the woods, being in the mountains,
Mm.
waterfalls, the streams, the rivers. Yeah, love
Speaking of
that.
waterfalls, do you
Yeah.
know that Wisconsin has a mess of waterfalls?
Oh yeah, I looked it up last year. There's a whole um there's a book about it. There's probably several books about it, but what did I see it on? I think it was a Facebook page on Wisconsin waterfalls, if I remember
Mm.
correctly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, we found some stuff. I took a trip up to like the Ashland area, Lake
Hmm.
Superior and stuff, and I was really enamored with Lake Superior. There is a state park, Pattison State Park
Yes.
near Ashland.
Hmm.
The waterfall there is Niagara Falls is 2 feet higher than that. So we do have a waterfall here that is really almost comparable. It's really cool. The
Hmm.
park is very easy to get to. It's right off the road and it has a beautiful pathway and stuff all the way around the park. And you can watch several different waterfalls right there.
Right. Right.
So,
And in the Wausau area, there's it's called the Dells of Eau Claire, but it's actually in the Wausau area. And there are several waterfalls there as well.
Oh, really? I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Hmm. I
Well,
stumbled on it last year, out in the wilderness driving lost. Well,
I understand that.
I had my GPS set and it took me off of the major highways, apparently, I don't know, accident or something. So the GPS took me off of the highways, but then I get far enough off the highway, then you lose contact with your GPS, right? So then I'm just like, to do, to do, to do. Oh, that looks interesting.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was beautiful.
Sometimes spirit guides you in the best places, and sometimes
Absolutely. Yeah.
not. I was again, last weekend was the shower, and where they
Hmm.
had it was a little bit off the beaten path, and um, I turned the corner listening to my GPS, and it's been slow lately to react. And
Yeah.
so apparently I passed where I needed to be, and it took me to a house right next door. And I thought, I've been here before, and that's not what it looks like. So I went about a mile down the road, and I started losing connection with my GPS. And it started, the whole screen went white, and it kept flipping through the rerouting. And it was telling me how far away I was from where I needed to be. And
Yeah.
eventually it told me I was 45 minutes away. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for the shower if that's the point. And then I had to realize that, it's Mercury retrograde, and then we got some solar flares going on, and then we have the eclipse happening, and it was just kind of messy. I eventually turned around
Hmm.
and found the connection, but it was a little bit of a panic.
Yeah.
Had I not had to be somewhere, I wouldn't have reacted that badly, but I would have taken by way the crow flies, and I don't know where I'd have ended up 45 minutes away from where I needed to be.
But
So,
really remember when we were just like these crazy adventurous rebels and we left with our little paper maps,
right,
you
right.
know, before we became dependent on the technology. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
God, right. I know I
That's
thought about that when I was, it was taking me to a place, and I'm like, oh, I know what she's doing. She's making me go all the way around, and that's gonna be, in a circle kind of thing, rather than telling me to turn around. And
mhm.
sometimes I don't understand why it just doesn't do that. But, that's a story of another time.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, the things we did without the technology we have today.
And we used to do that with the paper maps
Yeah.
with no cell phones.
Right, exactly. And we didn't have to call somebody and tell them that we were lost. We were just
Right.
lost.
Yeah. Like people would just assume, oh, well, they must be lost. They're not here yet. They'll be here.
Right,
And now, if people don't call and they're late, it's panic mode.
right. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And thank God for friends like that. Sometimes
Hmm.
I do have, my relatives will call up and go, where are you? Are you lost? Because, my son was up there too. And he's
Hmm.
like, I'm pretty sure my mom's lost. I'm pretty sure that's where she is. I've noticed too,
Hmm.
I don't know if it probably doesn't resonate with you because you travel so much and you're in the car. But I noticed that it seems like spiritual people, a little bit more intuitive, psychic people, whatever you want to call, they tend to get lost. They're like, my brain sometimes just flips out, and I'm like, I'm kind of a dumb, unintelligible kind of person that I just can't even figure out which direction I'm going. And I don't care. It's like I feel like I need to go that way. So then I turn and oh, and then I learned something, or I found something that I didn't know was there, or
Yeah.
how did I get here? This is kind of cool. It's not where I'm supposed to be, but I'm still safe. So,
So Deidre went with me last fall up to Escanaba. We did a fair in Escanaba,
mhm,
and we were staying with a friend who lives outside of Escanaba on a beautiful property. I've talked about it before, I think. Sacred Waterways is the
mhm.
name of her property, and the GPS does not take you there. Like we went on this big grand adventure and about halfway, like trying to figure out where we are before we finally got back to where we had phone reception. She's like, all right, here's the official story where we're out squatching. Like, good. We were out squatching. Yeah, that's what we were doing. While the rest of you were having dinner without us.
Did you find him?
No. Found
Darn.
some scary people, but not
Well,
Squatch. Yeah.
there's that, always.
No, just life is adventure, and if I can remember to look at it like the adventure that it is, I am much happier regardless of what's going on,
I
or
think you're
let's
right.
at least more at ease.
Yeah, being in the
Yeah.
flow is really a much better place to be than trying to control everything.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that too. And
Yeah.
if I get lost and stuff, I always do this meditative type of check-in
Hmm.
myself and say, are you okay? What do you feel like is around you? Do you feel like you're in danger?
Yeah.
Uh, no, well then, now your humanistic points are coming out and you need to just refocus and don't
Yeah.
be scared. Nothing's going to hurt you. So,
Yeah. There was one time pre GPS where I was lost. I don't know where it was, Iowa, Indiana, I don't know, somewhere. And I was just driving around the wilderness because I got routed off the highway, right? So they had a detour sign. But at some point, you stop seeing detour signs, and I'm just driving around on these back roads. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I can't just drive out here forever. I'm eventually going to run out of gas, right? So
right.
then I just stopped my brain and I went, okay, what is going to bring me to something that resembles civilization? And all of a sudden, it's like, look for a water tower.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I just kept driving like another half a mile and boom, there's a water tower. Just keep driving roads that look like it's going towards the water tower. And eventually I found a town and got a map and figured out my way out of there. But yeah,
Do you ever stop in like the taverns and stuff and ask the people where you're going? Where the heck am I?
I tend not to go into taverns. I'm not comfortable with taverns, but if I see like a little diner or something like that, yeah, I will.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get inside those taverns and you're never sure what you're gonna find. And
Right. And they'll give you wrong directions just because they think it's funny.
oh, I've not had that
Oh.
experience, but I'm gonna write that down just in case I do. Just question it when I'm doing my check-in.
When you're doing your check-in, yeah.
Are these people being malicious or no?
Yeah. It depends on how intoxicated they are, I think. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's true. Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's why I tend to go for the diners. Because even people hopped up on coffee generally wouldn't think to lie to you about that.
You're so logical. Oh my God, I would never think of that. And in the afternoon, are the diners open? And
A
if
lot
it's
of, well,
regular,
yeah, if some of them like close at like 2 o'clock and you never know. But
yeah,
gas stations are always an option if you can find one of those.
yeah, with a guy who fixes cars that knows stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yep. If you happen to find a police station, you can always wander in there and go, help me, I'm lost.
Well, that's a good thought.
You know?
In the back roads of Kentucky, I'm not sure you're going to find that.
Well, that's true.
God, you hate to stop at a farmhouse and knock on the door because
That's anywhere. I wouldn't do that anywhere. I don't
yeah, I
think.
don't think so.
I mean, if I had to, like if there was absolutely no other choice, I'd be like, okay, spirit guides, protect me, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that would definitely be my last choice.
Yeah, I have gotten lost at night on the back roads up north and
Hmm.
ran out of gas and parked on the side of the road when I kind of drifted into what I could see up in front of me was probably a small town. And the next morning, I was woken up by a knock on the window. But, if you just got to maintain yourself and
Hmm.
stay stay sane.
Hmm. And
Mm.
seriously, in the middle of the night, you're safer locked in your car than you are anywhere else. So yeah,
Well, and then they'd be accused of Sasquatching or just squatching.
squatching.
Yeah.
I was squatching and ran out of gas because I don't plan well.
Right. I thought I saw something. Thought I'd follow it. Two light eyes. Oh, that was a deer. Never mind.
Never mind. That was a deer.
I
Oh, that
think
one
that.
was probably a coyote. Never mind.
Oh, I'll do a coyote before I'll do a wolf.
Oh
I've
yeah.
I'm not liking wolves. Hmm.
Mm. I love wolves, but I wouldn't come up to one in the wilderness. That's just smart.
Well, if there's one, then there's more, and
Yeah,
they travel in packs. So
they
that's
do.
anyway.
Hmm. You reminded me of when I was traveling back from Washington, the last road trip I went out to Washington. I was on my way back, and it was weird because there were a lot of wildfires, and I don't know if you've ever driven past a wildfire, but like I'm on I-90 driving and like literally see it on the side of the road. Like
Mm,
it was
scary.
scary. But I got I think into Montana, and I pulled over for the night in a rest area because I was just like I didn't want to stop anywhere where the fires were, obviously at a hotel, because chances are they're going to evacuate anyway. So I pulled in there, and I had my we call it the Hearst, but my brother has this black Dodge Magnum station wagon. That's what I was driving. And it
Oh,
looks like a hearse. It really does. And I had this like sleeping bag set up in the back, right? So I just climb in the back and I go to sleep. And then I wake up as it's just starting to get light out. There's a knock on the window, and it was a police officer. And I'm like, that's weird. That they don't normally do that in rest areas. So I rolled the window down a little bit. It actually had a crank window in the back. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, the wildfires are headed this way. We're evacuating everybody. We need you to leave. We need everyone to leave. And I'm like, okay, do I have time to go to the bathroom? And he's like, if you make it quick, right? So I'm like half in a stupor, don't have my glasses on. I stumble out of the car. I don't even think I put my shoes on. I think I walked to the bathroom in socks because I was just like, I'm in a hurry, right?
mm,
And I was about halfway there, and I realized I don't see any evidence of a fire. I don't see any. I mean, off in the distance, you could see smoke, but it wasn't like close. And I'm like, that's weird. And then I realized there were no police vehicles around, there were no emergency vehicles around. And I'm okay. So I go in, I use the restroom. And as I'm leaving the building, there's this older gentleman. I think he must have been in his 80s. And he was standing there with a cup of coffee and literally like shivering. And I'm like, sir, are you okay? And he's like, my truck broke down about 20 miles from here. I walked here. And
oh,
it was cold overnight. I mean, you know, you're up in the mountains in Alaska. That's cold.
yeah.
And he's like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And I'm like, well, there was a police officer that just told me, listen, he goes, I've been standing here for an hour. There have been no police officers. And I'm like, really? It's like my spirit guides woke me up. I ended up giving this guy a ride like
Mm,
60 miles out of my way. And it was the most delightful conversation. And that's when I was traveling with my little gnome. I don't know if you knew that. I have this little ceramic gnome dude that
okay.
Brenda. Her name is Brenda. And so I have Brenda on top of the cooler strapped in the front seat. But, you know, I cleared out the front seat and put everything back. And he's like, you know, you don't have to do this. And I'm like, I got nowhere to be. I got plenty of time.
Huh.
I'll just drop you off at home. And I did. I dropped him off at home. And then he was so cute. He was so cute. I didn't think he could even lift the cooler, poor little guy. But because he was a tiny little guy too. Like he wasn't probably even as tall as me, and I'm 5'4". So, you know,
Oh, wow.
yeah. But he just hiked up that cooler, and he put my little friend back up there. He goes, got to strap your little friend in. And he put the seatbelt on her. And it was just the cutest thing. But it was just so weird how, like, my spirit guides woke me up that way, like to get me moving. And I really feel like it's because this gentleman needed to get home safely,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And it was cool because I took a side trip and saw all kinds of cool stuff. And did you know in the middle of nowhere, in like Montana and Wyoming, there are like these weird little businesses set up. They're like combination post office, coffee shop, bookstore, general store. Like, and they're all in these little wooden buildings.
Hmm.
I got to stop at a couple of those. Pretty interesting stuff. Yeah.
My experience with Montana and Wyoming is that there's so much open space that
Yeah.
there are places that you get zero reception.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Another one of those places you need to make sure you have enough gas to get to where you need to go.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, when I dropped him off, he lived in a town with had two gas stations in it, so I was able to get gas and yeah.
Well, I think that I'm sure that you did some inner looking when you decided to take the guy
Oh,
and
absolutely. I checked it out with my spirit guides and went,
yeah,
is this a safe thing to do? Because I don't generally let people into my space if I don't feel safe,
right, right.
you know.
Hmm. I, I don't know. Sometimes we get ourselves in like, for instance, my picking the other day and raking and stuff. You get yourself in situations you think are good, and then they turn out to be not.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
That's another one of those self-care things that you really need to take care of your spiritual health as well,
Mm-hmm.
and listen to your guides and ask and
Yeah, definitely.
pay attention, do meditation. But
For
anyway,
real.
I suppose we should probably wrap up, huh? Where are
Yeah,
we?
we probably should, but this has been a really good discussion. Self-care is such an important topic and, you know,
Yeah. What do you do for mental health? Do you do anything special? I mean, really, truly, mental.
I'm suddenly reminded of a meme, it's like to preserve your mental health, avoid assholes.
Oh, I'm writing that down.
Uh-huh.
Note to self. Yeah.
But really, yeah, for my mental health, one of the most important things for me is to not procrastinate because like I did with my taxes, I procrastinate and it just creates more stress. So, doing what I need to do when I need to do it as much as I can talk myself into it. And also diet is really important for mental health. The gut microbes and all that is really
Mm.
interactive with everything else in the body and um yeah, just I guess just taking care of myself physically and emotionally. What do you do for mental health?
I specifically like to keep my space peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the chaos of a lot of noise bothers me. Um, and then, of course, walking outside and just uh, in the woods and stuff. I found a
Mm-hmm.
park up in West Bend I really like that. The peacefulness of my own self and checking in with my guides and doing some meditations. I do a little bit of Kriya. Um, I really enjoy a really nice Epsom salt bath to
Mm-hmm.
cleanse your body. And then just the soak in and of itself with, some meditative music is very good. And yeah, the eating part too, when you stimulate your mind, body, and soul with good food and good energy, then you kind of can't miss, but you also have to take care of your own physical health and limitations. You got to know
Mm-hmm.
them and honor them. And I'm preaching to the choir right now
Yeah.
because I tend to think that I'm still 50 and I'm not. So
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying not to cough there. Um, yeah, meditating and taking care of myself and getting peace, definitely peacefulness.
do
Yeah.
you do any sound baths, any of the sound bowls or singing bowls, Tibetan singing bowls,
I
that kind
have them.
that really is, I really like that. When
Yeah.
you open out to all of that sound and go someplace you don't not
Hmm.
even sure where you're going.
I like
It's
the drumming.
yeah, that's a really good thing too.
Yeah.
Do you do any drum circles? We should do that.
We should do a drum circle. I tried last year, I tried to get a couple of them going and people just didn't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I need to have a drum. Speaking of that, I
mhm.
heard when you make your first drum that you give it away, not necessarily right at the time, but then the second one that you make is really yours. Is that true? What do you know about
I
that?
think that if that resonates for you, it's true for you.
I love that you are so non-committal about that.
Well, because I don't have an opinion. I
Yeah.
really don't have an opinion about it. If I did, you'd hear the opinion, believe me. But I don't. I don't really have an opinion about that. It's like with tarot cards. Oh, you're not supposed to buy a deck of tarot cards. They should be given to you.
Oh,
Some people believe that. I feel like if a drum or cards or whatever tool calls to me, I don't think that I have to wait for somebody else to get it for me, you
yeah. I,
know?
I think that you'll go for a long time
Mm-hmm.
without having what you think you need or want if you're waiting for
Right.
to get it for you.
Right. So, I mean, if it resonates for you that you're supposed to give away the first drum, then give it away. But for me, what resonates is if I have something, an item, whatever that might be, and somebody else, and I feel like it wants to go to somebody else, to a specific person usually, then I will give it to them.
Hmm.
And
I
if
figured you being native, you would know the rules
that
or
is one of the teachings, but not, you just have to understand that not every tribe has all the same teachings.
yeah.
So, Native American is not one thing.
Right. There's
It's more than 200 different things. So, so
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all interesting. So
If
that
that's what
being,
resonates with you, then yeah, do it. If it doesn't,
oh,
don't do it.
I don't know. I mean, if
Yeah.
I spent all that money on making a drum and then loving it and stuff, I don't know that I'd really want to part with it, at least for many years.
Yeah.
Upon my deathbed, I might give it to somebody.
There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
I have a few different drums. Um, some need to be like restrung or whatever because they're too loose. They don't make a nice sound.
hmm,
So I don't know. I think it's really what resonates with you and what feels right for you.
okay. Thank you for answering that question.
You're welcome.
You're like the oracle, so I know that if I have a question. And just like any good oracle, if you don't know it, you make the shit up. And,
Right? No, I mean, but really, it's like I was asked a similar question. I know we're going over time here, but I was asked a similar question about, what do you think is the best paranormal investigation tool? And it's the same answer. What works for you?
yeah, I suppose.
You know?
It's like
Um,
cooking. I don't like
yeah.
to bake cakes. I like to make steak or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
like to do it all, but I don't know. I haven't found anything I don't like, but I'm sure that there are people just like math. They don't like math and
Mm-hmm.
like science,
Yeah,
I suppose.
exactly.
You have to listen to what resonates with you,
With what
right?
resonates with you. Absolutely. And I mean, I know that I was talking to somebody whose big thing is EVPs, right? The electronic voice phenomena.
Yeah.
Those things drive me bonkers because I have somewhat of a hearing disability and all I ever hear is static and it just drives me nuts. So for me, EVP is not the tool, but visual, audio is like videos or still shots where you capture something in that's what I resonate towards because
Mhm.
I can see it. That's where my sensory comes in. People who can hear the EVPs tend to go to that.
Yeah. I suppose you have to pick your strong suit, whatever works
Hmm.
for you.
Whatever works for you. And honestly, my own intuition is my favorite tool for that anyway. So,
Yeah. I think it's the same in life. Whatever
hmm,
works for us is what we have to go with and stop having other people tell you what to do and do things that resonate with you rather than what other people think you should do.
yeah.
Pretty
And
much
this,
mental health you need.
yeah. Well, building on that, for years we had been taught that, you have to get good at what you're not good at to be successful. No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
you hire people that do
You
that.
hire people who are good at the stuff you're not good at.
Right. And if you
And who
can't
like
afford to
to
hire them,
do the
then
stuff you don't like to do.
right.
That's how you get successful. Yeah.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And
This has been a wonderful conversation.
we have not done some of these. We haven't talked in a while, and I thought it
Hmm.
was time that we just hunker down and talk to each other rather
Yeah.
than other people. And
Yeah,
next week we do have a guest. Charlene Osterling is going to come and talk with us. She's a physical
nice.
trainer and she has a book and she does Stupid Good Food and which is a company. It's
Yeah,
really,
cool.
she's completely vegan. So that should be an interesting discussion with her.
Yeah,
And
I've never met her, so that will be an interesting discussion.
she she thinks she discusses her language and stuff is a little bit on a different wavelength. It's not completely, here stuck on earth. She comes up with stuff. It's like, oh my God, I'm shocked that what a great conversation. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
It's very pleasant. She's got this glow about her, so
I
I'm
love
excited.
that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet her. And for all of you who have enjoyed our lengthy conversation here today, remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and please, please, please share us with your friends.
And write us some comments. Tell us what you
Yeah,
like, what you don't like, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for coming
excellent.
today.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Take care.
Bye bye.